The history of the Louvre Museum, Paris, France. Discover the fascinating journey of the Louvre, from a medieval fortress to a cultural icon in the digital age. Immerse yourself in this video and explore the secrets and transformations of the world's most visited museum. Await curious facts and surprising revelations that will amaze you at every turn. Chapter 1. The Medieval Origin. In the 7th century, under the reign of Philip II, Paris was an emerging city in the heart of Europe. The need for defense and protection was a priority in the face of constant threats from feudal and territorial conflicts. Philip II, aware of the strategic importance of Paris, decided to build a robust fortress, which would serve as a defensive bastion and symbol of the growing monarchical power. The construction of what we know today as the Louvre began around 1190. Strategically located on the banks of the Seine, the medieval fortress of the Louvre was intended to protect Paris from river attacks, a critical route for transportation and trade. The architecture reflected the military styles of the time, with thick walls, robust towers, and a moat for effective defense. At its center stood the imposing donjon, a tribute tower that symbolized the strength and power of the monarch. Centuries later, archaeological excavations revealed the remains of this medieval fortress, allowing historians and the public to better understand the origins of the Louvre. These discoveries have shown not only the foundations and defensive structures but also artifacts that give clues about daily life in the fortress, from weapons to household utensils. This medieval period marked the beginning of the history of the Louvre, not only as a defensive structure but also as a key element in the evolution of Paris and France. The Louvre fortress symbolizes medieval power, the growing role of Paris as a political and cultural center, and lays the groundwork for the transformations it would undergo in the coming centuries, reflecting the dynamism and complexity of French history. Chapter 2. Renaissance Transformation. The history of the Louvre took a dramatic turn in the 16th century under the rule of Francis I, a monarch passionate about art and culture. His fascination with the Italian Renaissance led him to transform the medieval fortress into a palace of Renaissance splendor. This change reflects a period of peace and prosperity in France, allowing the flourishing of the arts and sciences. The renovation of the Louvre during this period involved a stylistic transition towards the elegance and balance of the Renaissance. Architectural elements such as classical columns, ornate facades, and spacious areas that promoted light and perspective were introduced. These changes altered the appearance of the Louvre and symbolized a change in the perception of the monarchy, from a defensive fortress to a palace of culture and refinement. A key milestone in this period was the arrival of masterpieces like Leonardo da Vinci's Mona Lisa. Francis I, an admirer of Italian art, invited Leonardo to France, and upon his death, the Mona Lisa became part of the royal collection. This work, along with other acquisitions, marked the beginning of an art collection that would expand enormously over the centuries. The Renaissance transformation of the Louvre was not just an architectural renovation but a reflection of a broader change in French society. This period marked the beginning of France's consolidation as a cultural power, highlighting the role of art and culture in national identity and politics. The Louvre, in its new form, not only became a symbol of power and wealth but also a beacon of humanism and knowledge that characterized the Renaissance. Chapter 3. The Palace of Kings. During the 16th and 17th centuries, the Louvre underwent a significant transformation, consolidating itself as the main residence of the kings of France. This change reflects the growing importance of Paris as the center of royal power and the monarchy's preference for an urban setting over traditional castles in rural areas. The Louvre became an epicenter of political and cultural life, evidencing the union of art and power. One of the most relevant transformations was carried out by Henry IV, who joined the Louvre with the Tuileries Palace. This extension, known as the Grande Gallery, was not only an architectural feat but also a symbol of the monarch's ambition and vision. The union of these two palaces reflected the magnitude of royal power and its relationship with the arts and culture. During this period, the Louvre became a center of artistic patronage. The kings of France, passionate about the arts, gathered some of the most talented artists in Europe. The palace was adorned with exceptional artworks, from paintings and sculptures to tapestries and furniture, reflecting the taste and power of the French monarchy. The Louvre, in its role as a royal palace, symbolized the union of political authority and cultural patronage. The continual presence of royalty at the Louvre strengthened its position as a symbol of France's might and prestige. This era marked a period where culture and art were not just adornments of power but essential tools in the expression and consolidation of monarchical authority. Chapter 4: The Enlightenment and the Revolution. The 18th century, known as the Age of Enlightenment, was a period of profound intellectual and social changes in Europe. During this era, the Louvre continued its evolution, experiencing changes under the reign of Louis XIV and his successors. This period was marked by a growing interest in the sciences, the arts, and philosophy, influencing the cultural development of the Louvre. Louis XIV, known as the Sun King, played a fundamental role in the history of the Louvre, although much of his artistic legacy would be associated with Versailles. Under his rule, the Louvre benefited from a program of renovations and architectural improvements, reflecting the splendor of the French Baroque. However, it was during the French Revolution that the Louvre would experience its most radical transformation. The French Revolution marked a turning point for the Louvre. In 1793, in the midst of revolutionary fervor, the palace was transformed into a public museum, the Central Museum of the Arts. This decision symbolized a significant change in the relationship between art, power, and the people. Art, once the exclusive domain of the monarchy and aristocracy, was democratized, becoming accessible to the citizenry. The opening of the Central Museum of the Arts at the Louvre was a revolutionary event in itself. It represented a new paradigm in the perception and access to art and culture. The museum exhibited royal collections and enriched itself with works confiscated from the nobility and the church. This act symbolized the break with the old regime and the birth of a new era, where art would serve the people and the education of the citizenry. Chapter 5: Napoleon and the Expansion of the Louvre. With the rise of Napoleon Bonaparte to power, the Louvre entered another crucial phase of its history. Napoleon, seeking to emulate and surpass the glories of past monarchs, renamed the museum the Napoleon Museum. Under his direction, the Louvre underwent not only considerable physical expansion but also an expansion in terms of its collections. The Napoleonic era was characterized by aggressive acquisitions of artworks. Napoleon's military campaigns across Europe were accompanied by a systematic program of art collection. Masterpieces from conquered territories, from Italy to Egypt, were brought to Paris and the Louvre. These acquisitions, though temporary for many of the pieces, transformed the Louvre into one of the world's richest and most diverse museums. The expansion of the Louvre under Napoleon reflected not only his passion for art but also his understanding of art as a tool of political power. By displaying works from conquered territories, Napoleon celebrated his military victories and presented himself as a patron of the arts and a cultural leader. This practice highlighted the intersection between art and geopolitics in the Napoleonic era. Although many of the works acquired during the Napoleonic campaigns were returned after his fall, Napoleon's impact on the Louvre was enduring. He not only changed the structure and collection of the museum but also redefined the relationship between art, culture, and political power. His legacy in the Louvre is a testament to the influence of politics in art, as well as the ability of art to reflect and shape history. Chapter 6: Restoration and the Second Empire. After Napoleon's fall, Europe entered a period of political and cultural restoration. In the Louvre, this meant the return of many of the artworks acquired during the Napoleonic campaigns to their countries of origin. This restitution process was complex and politicized, reflecting the tensions and power balances in post-Napoleonic Europe. The Second French Empire, under Napoleon III, marked another important stage in the history of the Louvre. During this period, the museum underwent significant restorations and renovations. A conscious effort was made to improve the presentation and conservation of the collections, adapting the museum to the growing expectations of an increasingly interested public in art and history. The Louvre, during the Second Empire, reflected a growing focus on the visitor experience. Improvements were made in lighting and the layout of the works, and more attention was paid to aspects such as temperature and humidity, essential for the long-term preservation of the pieces. This period marked the beginning of an era in which museums were not only places to store art but also carefully designed spaces for its enjoyment and study. The impact of the Second Empire on the Louvre had repercussions in the art world in general. It set a precedent for how modern museums should present and care for their collections. Moreover, the Louvre's commitment to conservation and accessibility of art during this era helped to consolidate its position as one of the most important and respected museums in the world. Chapter 7: The Belle Époque and the World Wars. At the end of the 19th century and the beginning of the 20th century, France and the Louvre experienced a period of cultural splendor known as the Belle Époque. This era, characterized by political stability and economic progress, was a time of artistic and cultural flourishing. The Louvre, at the center of this boom, was enriched with new acquisitions and became a symbol of France's wealth and cultural sophistication. During the Belle Époque, the Louvre housed works of art and became a center for the exchange of ideas and public education. Exhibitions and cultural events attracted a diverse audience, from intellectuals and artists to tourists and ordinary citizens. This period highlighted the importance of the museum as a space for education and public enjoyment. With the outbreak of World War I and subsequently World War II, the Louvre faced unprecedented challenges. During both wars, there was an urgent need to protect the collections from damage and destruction. Extraordinary measures were taken to evacuate and safeguard the most valuable works, reflecting not only their artistic importance but also their symbolic value for France and humanity. The period of the World Wars was also a time of reflection on the meaning and vulnerability of cultural heritage. The effort to protect the works of the Louvre demonstrated the resilience of the human spirit and the commitment to conserving art in the face of adversity. These events highlighted the museum's crucial role in preserving history and culture, even in the darkest moments. Chapter 8: Post-War Modernization and Expansion. After the devastating impact of the World Wars, the post-war period marked a new phase of reconstruction and modernization for the Louvre. This era was characterized by a significant effort to restore and update the museum's facilities, ensuring that it continued to be a place of cultural and educational importance in a rapidly changing world. One of the most emblematic projects was the Grand Louvre Initiative, launched under the presidency of François Mitterrand in the 1980s. This ambitious project sought to renovate and expand the museum, enhancing the visitor experience and increasing space for exhibitions. The modernization included reorganizing the collections, improving conservation facilities, and introducing modern technologies for museum management. A central element in the modernization of the Louvre was the construction of the Louvre Pyramid, designed by architect Ieo Ming-Pei. This glass and metal structure, inaugurated in 1989, initially caused controversy due to its modern design, which contrasted with the classical architecture of the palace. However, over time, the pyramid has become an iconic symbol of the Louvre, representing the fusion of historical heritage with modernity. The modernization and expansion of the Louvre in the post-war period reflected the museum's commitment to adaptation and innovation. These changes improved the museum's functionality and reaffirmed its relevance in a changing world. The Louvre continued to evolve, staying at the forefront of presenting and conserving art, while adapting to the new expectations and challenges of the 21st century. Chapter 9. The Louvre in the 21st Century. The 21st century brought unique challenges and opportunities for the Louvre, especially in the era of digitalization. With technological advancement, the museum adopted new tools and digital platforms to expand its reach and accessibility. The digitalization of collections and the creation of virtual tours opened the doors of the Louvre to a global audience, transcending physical and temporal barriers. Art conservation has also benefited from technological advancements. The Louvre implemented innovative techniques for the preservation and restoration of works, using science and technology to better understand and care for its vast collection. These innovations improved the conservation of historical pieces and enabled deeper discoveries and analyses of their origin and composition. The globalization of the 21st century led the Louvre to expand beyond its physical borders. A notable example is the opening of the Louvre Abu Dhabi in 2017, the first universal museum in the Arab world. This expansion symbolizes a new era of cultural collaboration and the Louvre's desire to share its heritage with a broader and more diverse audience. In the new millennium, the Louvre not only remained one of the most visited and recognized museums in the world but also reaffirmed itself as a global cultural center. Through its digitalization initiatives, its focus on conservation, and its international expansion, the Louvre has successfully adapted to the realities of the 21st century, maintaining its place at the heart of global culture and art. Chapter 10. Current and Future Challenges. One of the most significant challenges for the Louvre in the contemporary era is climate change. With the growing threat of extreme weather events and their potential impacts on historic structures and collections, the museum has implemented adaptation and mitigation strategies. These include improvements in air conditioning and conservation systems to protect artworks from the adverse effects of climate change. The global COVID-19 pandemic presented an unprecedented challenge, forcing the temporary closure of the museum and a drastic decrease in tourism. In response, the Louvre intensified its digital presence, offering virtual tours and online experiences to maintain access to art and culture. This situation has led the museum to reconsider and reinforce its digital strategy and operating model in a post-pandemic world. The Louvre, like many renowned museums, finds itself in the midst of the debate over the repatriation of artworks. With a growing global call for the return of cultural objects acquired in colonial or conflictive contexts, the museum faces the challenge of balancing its role as a custodian of world heritage with respect for the rights and histories of indigenous peoples. As the world continues to change at an accelerated pace, the Louvre is actively adapting to these new challenges. From environmental management to ethics in curating and the inclusion of emerging technologies, the museum strives to maintain its relevance and leadership in a constantly evolving cultural and social landscape. These current and future challenges reflect not only the ongoing history of the Louvre but also its dynamic and critical role in contemporary and future culture.